All right, 18 minutes after 11 o'clock. Nice-looking Wednesday morning. Hope you're doing well. I have a story to tell you, and I know some of you heard me tell it before, but our guest who's on the phone hasn't heard me tell it, and I want to use it as a way to introduce him. I worked at an assisted living facility for 3 years. I've been in radio forever, but I took a hiatus from radio. I got sick of it. I said, I'm not doing it anymore. And I found this job where I worked with elderly folks, older retired people, I should say, and I know I'm getting there myself, but I worked for 3 years doing this, probably about 12 years ago now, right? And I came back one time from running an errand or something, and I came back and I saw one of the residents in a wheelchair, an old man. I said, what are you doing? Where are you going? He said, I gotta leave. I said, what do you mean you gotta leave? Well, they're kicking me out. Oh, come on. I thought he was kidding me. I really thought he was kidding me. I went inside. All the nurses, all the ladies were crying because they knew they had no choice. This guy had to leave because he couldn't pay anymore.
Right.
He ran out of money.
Yep.
I think, just so you know the ending of the story, I think he ended up living with his brother up in New England somewhere, okay? But the idea that somebody could be kicked out, you say, okay, so this bottom line is, this job I'm doing is really a business.
Right.
I'm helping out a business, and they have no choice if somebody can't pay their rent. Of course, they can't exist if everybody's in there for free.
Exactly.
So you can't blame them either, right? And fortunately, in this man's case, he had family. Now, you and I, Robin, made that experience into something else that we've done, and we take our music that we play and we show up at these places. So in a very, very casual way, we get to see some of the living conditions of some of the different facilities, and they're almost all pretty good. No, forget the word almost. They're all pretty good.
Yeah.
But you do see the ones that are the homes of some people who really didn't plan, didn't have money, right? And now let me combine that with this statement. We quite often in talk radio will demonize lobbyists, right? And I've been cautious about this because I'm well aware that some of the folks up in Washington, D.C. or in Tallahassee who are lobbying our elected officials are actually doing something that's going to be very good for all of us. Such is the case with our next guest, just so you know. Chris Orestis, I hope I have his information correct, otherwise he's going to say, what are you talking about? I never lobbied anybody. He is the CEO of Life Care Funding and an insurance industry lobbyist who created, listen to this, he created the model to provide an option for middle-class people who are not wealthy enough to pay for long-term care and not poor enough to qualify for Medicaid. That was this man's, the guy I just described to you.
Yeah.
That was his circumstances. And he's going to tell us some alternate ways that we might be able to do this and what he was able to do legally with legislation that helps all of us. Chris Orestis, you should be the guy who we put on the cover of Rolling Stone, not this stupid bombing. I see this has bothered me all morning long, but I mean somebody like Chris who's actually done something heroic.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. It's a pleasure to be on your show. I did work in Washington, D.C. for a number of years, and I learned a couple of things as I was working with the insurance industry. One was that seniors who own life insurance policies were throwing those policies away. Billions and billions of dollars a year worth of policies were being thrown away by seniors because they either couldn't afford to keep making their premium payments or they were starting to think about getting ready to get onto Medicaid, and a life insurance policy is an asset that will count against you for Medicaid eligibility. We looked at that.
Oh, wow.
And we said, wait a minute, there's got to be a better way because the life insurance policy has a lot of value, and a senior can actually, they have the legal right to convert that policy and use a portion of that death benefit as a living benefit to help pay for long-term care. And we went out, started our company, Life Care Funding, over 5 years ago to put in place the mechanism to help seniors do that.
Okay, so was that something that was always available, but we needed a campaign to enlighten us, or did legislation actually have to be passed to create that?
Everybody who owns a life insurance policy, it's their legal right to do it. It's an asset. A life insurance policy is an asset, no different than a home, a car, or anything else. The problem is that life insurance policy owners don't realize that.
Does it matter if it's term life or some other more expensive, more fancy life insurance?
No, in fact, every type of life insurance can you can use it, convert it, turn it into a payment for long-term care, whether it's term life, universal life,
really,
whole life, even a group life policy somebody might have kept after they retired from their company.
So, just go back 12 years or so to the man I just described. If somebody had known better, could he have tapped into that? Because you don't know the guy, but I mean...
Absolutely. In fact, that circumstance you described is the circumstance with families that our company helps every day. We get calls from assisted living communities, nursing homes, home health care companies, with somebody in that circumstance, or somebody who can't afford to even move in. They're trying to figure it out, and they'll tell us, we're working with this family, they can't quite afford to either move in or stay in, but they do have this life insurance policy, and they were getting ready to get rid of it, but we understand that this is something that could potentially be used to pay for long-term care. We will then walk the family through the process, hold their hand, take them through it, do the conversion, and they'll take that life insurance policy. In essence, they'll trade it in.
Wow.
And get in return a fully funded long-term care benefit account. So let's say the gentleman that you ran into had a $100,000 life insurance policy.
Okay.
He might have turned that into a $40,000, a $50,000, a $60,000 benefit account that could have kept him in that assisted living community for another 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay, no, but he still has money for his funeral expenses. A lot of times that's what people buy these policies for.
Well, correct. Now let's not confuse that. Let's say a small $5,000 or $10,000 funeral policy is specifically for that. That should be kept and used for funeral policy uses. But somebody with a larger policy, let's say it's $50,000, $100,000 or more of death benefit. So many families, when they get to that point where they're trying to figure out how to pay for long-term care, are going to dump that policy.
And they dump it. Why? Because they look at the premiums as just a burden.
Right. The premiums are something that just become too expensive. Remember, they bought a life insurance policy maybe 20 or 30 years ago to protect a young family in case something happened to them. Now that they're in their senior years and they're looking to move forward to long-term care, the family doesn't have to worry about that any longer. Now what they're worried about is how to take care of mom or dad, who 20 or 30 years ago was worrying about how to take care of them.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry, I stopped you. It sounds like you're going to say what I was just going to ask you.
Well, I was just going to say, so now here's an opportunity to use that life insurance policy to take care of an immediate need for long-term care, so that the mother, the father, whoever is in need of that care can choose the form of care they want. If they convert the policy, put it into a protected long-term care benefit account, they're private pay. That means they can decide, do I want home care? Do I want assisted living? What's the best form of care that I want to choose? They can make that choice. They're in control of their decision-making process, as opposed to if they were to go on to Medicaid, and now the state is telling you where you can go and what you can get.
All right, let me tell you what happened. Was it last year, Robin? Was it 1 year ago?
Yes.
1 year ago, my mom got to the point where my family and I decided to have her go into an assisted living facility. It was a beautiful facility in town. Not a clue what to do, okay? In spite of the fact that I had those 3 years. By the way, those 3 years I was an activities director, so I really didn't know much about the goings-on. I was just having fun playing. But the point is, I relied on professionals to advise me what to do. Nobody brought this up. Is there a reason for that? I mean, nobody ever said this is an option. Not that they steered me wrong. I hope if they're listening, I don't want anybody to think I'm unhappy with their service. They were very good to us, but this never came up as an option.
Yeah, it's not that they steered you wrong; it's that they just didn't know. And this is one of those sort of best kept secrets. The life insurance industry really has no interest in informing consumers that this is an option they have, because if you lapse or surrender a policy, that means they don't ever have to pay the death benefit in the future. If you trade in the policy to use it for long-term care, that means eventually a death benefit is going to be collected because the policy is going to stay in force. When our company works with a family, they'll trade in the policy to us. We'll take over the policy, keep making the premium payments to keep it in force, and we're going to fund and administer the benefit account for them to make sure that every month the payments they need for home care, assisted living, whatever it is they need, are being covered.
Wow.
So the insurance companies would prefer that people don't know about this, and it's not something that they're out there informing people about. Our company's mission, and that's why we really love these opportunities to get on and talk to folks like you. Our company's mission is to go out there and inform people, let them know. And one of the things we did is we championed legislation around the country. Florida is one of the states that have actually introduced the bill that Texas has now passed into law that mandates seniors need to be informed of this option in the state.
That's a good
before
idea.
they go on to Medicaid, so that they have an opportunity to use a policy to stay private pay, choose the form of care, and delay having to go on Medicaid. Also, obviously, saving the taxpayers money.
And not lose the house, because that was
Not
another.
right.
Okay.
You don't need to lose the house. You don't need to give up anything, because if you're private pay and delay going on to Medicaid, you're in control. But once you go on to Medicaid, you have to get rid of all your assets. You have to get rid of everything. And now the state's in control of what's going to happen. And obviously, people would prefer to stay in control, and the states would prefer that people stay in control and stay independent.
And now sometimes when parents are become parents, they have this baby, so they'll go out and buy this a life insurance policy for the baby. Can you have this rider put into the individual insurance policy just to make sure that, once this baby grows up, it won't be forgotten and it'll be in there in black and white?
The insurance companies now are selling more policies with riders to be able to do that, but it can be an expensive rider to purchase. What we do is we focus on seniors who have bought policies years ago where these riders didn't even exist, and they're just trading in the policy, whether there's a rider or not. Everybody has the legal right and the option to trade in a life insurance policy to a company like ours. This is what we specialize in. To then convert it into a long-term care benefit. The money is locked up in a protected, irrevocable account.
Right.
And the payments are made automatically every month on behalf of the family out of the account, straight from the bank to the care provider, to make sure that every month the cost of care is being provided for.
And when the person does eventually die, is the death benefit going to go to the survivors, or do you keep it?
No, they would have traded in the full death benefit to get its present-day value now. So let's say,
there you go.
For a $100,000 death benefit, they got $50,000 or $60,000 today. They're going to sign over the policy to get the most value they can get today, and then use it to pay for long-term care.
Okay, excellent.
Wow, so many different.
Which has the benefit of now they're no longer responsible for making those premium payments. It's no longer an asset that's going to count against them for Medicaid eligibility. So if they do spend through the account, let's say over 2 or 3 years, they're then able to seamlessly go right on to Medicaid because they don't have the asset anymore counting against them.
Here comes the point where I know that once we're done, somebody's going to call, maybe not today, maybe next week even, and they're going to say, Larry, what do I need to know about this? And my answer is always the same. You need to go to the person who was telling us about this, or the website that was provided. So do you have a website that I can write down? And
absolutely. I would. The name of our company is Life Care Funding, and that's also the name of our website, lifecarefunding.com.
Okay, and actually Robin has that already on the WOCA.com website on the guest list for today, for this show, AM Ocala Live, at the 11:20 slot. Chris, this is good information. If I could slip in real quick, do you have to run, or can I ask one simple, quick question?
Please.
One of the things that was suggested a year ago was reverse mortgage. Sounded like a good option. We didn't do it, but it sounds like this is a better option.
Well, reverse mortgages, you have to pay the money back. The house is encumbered. You have to be living in the house. So if somebody wants to do a reverse mortgage to move out and go into assisted living, they're not going to be able to. With the life insurance policy conversion, you're using an asset that you already own to get the most value out of it today. You're never going to have to pay anybody back anything. You're not paying interest. You're not paying premiums any longer. So you're taking an asset that many people are just throwing in the trash for nothing getting a significant amount for it.
Yeah.
That is your money, free and clear, to do with to use to pay for long-term care.
Good information, Chris. I thank you for coming on the air with us, and thank you even bigger than that for what you've done for all of us by the lobbying work that you've done. It was just one of those sad things, and you know, so many, and having gone through it myself, and realizing that these people who were helping me really wanted to help. These were wonderful people, but obviously did not know about this option.
Right.
The website is lifecarefunding.com. Chris Orestis, thank you for being on the air with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great interview.
Bye-bye.
We'll take a little break and we'll be right back.